Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Maybon, and I am the board chair of the Corona Chamber of Commerce, as well as owner of Creative by Design. Today is a great day, and we have some important updates ahead, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us. I will be sharing today's agenda with our 2020 board chair, Don Williamson. Donnie?
Good morning, everyone. Today, our event is sponsored by Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente has been providing high-quality health care and coverage for more than 75 years in our region. When everything about your health care, including your health plan, is connected, everyone is equally invested in your total health. As Kaiser says, when our members thrive, everyone wins. Thank you, Kaiser Permanente. Thank you, Kaiser Permanente, for sponsoring our call this morning. Kim.
Thank you, Don. The Corona Chamber has partnered with the County of Riverside to provide free disposable masks to businesses. They are available in boxes of 50. All you need to do is contact the Chamber today to reserve your boxes. Reusable masks are also available for sale. Don?
Thanks, Kim. Our healthcare heroes continue to face huge challenges and fatigue. The Corona Chamber Foundation, in partnership with Frontline Appreciation Group of Corona, has been collecting funds to provide meals of gratitude to these tireless workers. You can see on the screen some photos from the great work they are doing. Donations can be made at givebigcorona.com or by check payable to the Corona Foundation. No amount is too small. You can also text FLAG, F-L-A-G, to 71441 to have links sent directly to your phone. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Don. In just over 3 weeks, our partnership with Brandis Training Solutions brings Paul Webb and Jeff Brandis to our members for this bi-monthly semi-private training. This is a great opportunity to dive deeper into your personal needs and industry-specific tools. It's limited to 8 to 10 people, so we encourage that you register today. The following month is a group session on greetings and techniques, questioning skills, listening skills, and reinforcing and complimenting. It's free to anyone through April 15th, so mark your calendar and register after today's program. Thank you to the City of Corona for sponsoring these events. Don?
The Corona Chamber has English and Spanish labor law posters in stock. You can buy them. We gave one to each of our members, and additional are available at discounted prices. They're required by law to be posted and sent to not only your location, but to any remote workers you may have. Fines can top $17,000 if you're out of compliance. So look into that today. Kim.
A reminder to please use the chat button to ask any questions. Send your questions to the chamber host and we will verbally ask the questions at the appropriate time. At this time, I'd like to introduce Lou Monville. Lou is the chair of the Riverside County Economic Recovery Task Force. This task force was created due to the impact of the COVID-19 crisis on our businesses and supports Riverside County businesses to reopen and facilitate the immediate restart of the local economy. Lou is also the Senior Vice President of Raincross Corporate Group, a collection of businesses involved in real estate development and entitlement, convention center management, operations and catering, and convention and sports sales and marketing. He is a trustee emeritus and a past chair of the board for the California State University Board of Trustees and a former member of the California Community College Board of Governors. Please welcome Lou Monville.
Lou, well, good morning to all of my friends in Corona. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be with you all. I chose my backdrop today because I assume when the rain clears, this will be the image we will see once again. All the reasons that we live here in the Inland Empire. We're going to have oranges on the trees, citrus on the trees, and snow in the mountains. So I hope this finds you well. I also chose this image because I do start to see the sun shining ahead. So for all of those of you in the business community who have endured what has been a long, deep, dark winter caused by COVID, there is light on the horizon and good news around the corner. And so particularly for those of you in small business, I applaud your entrepreneurship and your perseverance through these difficult times. I know it has been difficult on our business, as I'm sure it has been on all of yours. It's my pleasure today to kind of give you an update on the Riverside County Economic Recovery Task Force. First and foremost, let me thank this chamber for allowing us to have the time and the talent of one Bobby Spiegel, who I'm pleased to work for on the task force. He has been a real guiding light for us as it relates to being focused on the challenges faced by small business and the opportunities to harness this crisis to propel small business forward. So I thank Bobby for his leadership, and thank you all for giving us his time and his talent. I think it's also important to recognize our county supervisor, Karen Spiegel, as well as the rest of the Board of Supervisors, who early on, less than a month into the pandemic, recognized early the damage that this shutdown and pandemic was likely to create. Right at that time, we had hoped that the world was going to catch a cold and we were going to turn a corner quickly. But I think the wisdom that the board has shown in not only creating this task force, but resourcing it appropriately to support our business community has been a tribute to the leadership we have in Riverside County. So when you next see your supervisor, I would encourage you to thank her and continue to encourage her, particularly now as she takes on the role as chair of the board in what are still uncertain times. So as most of you know, I've updated you before. We spent most of last year at the task force trying to provide best practices and solutions to problems created by the vagrancy of the open shut cycle that was, a product of state regulation. And while I know it was difficult for all, I do think a remarkable group of volunteers such as Bobby provided some real best management practices and resources to businesses that otherwise wouldn't have been available. Keep in mind, right, the scale of Riverside County from the Colorado River to the Orange County border, trying to provide services and resources to the business community was a Herculean task. I also applaud the board for taking our recommendations about prioritizing CARES funding in direct grants to the business community. As many of you may know, and hopefully we're beneficiaries of, our task force in cooperation with the Board of Supervisors put $55 million in $10,000 grants out to small businesses throughout Riverside County in just short of 120 days. A remarkable feat, candidly, of logistics, but I think also spoke to the need. Those dollars didn't last long, and I think spoke to the challenge and the pain and the difficulty that was being felt in the economy. Additionally, at the end of the year, the board, through our task force, made an additional $1.5 million investment in travel, hospitality, and leisure, much of which helped to provide PPE reimbursement and supplies to hotels and travel providers throughout the region. And I know that benefited hotels in the Corona area. Late last year, though, I want to give you that as the background, but start to tell you the shift that we made last year towards the future. As we started to see the winter spike in the virus, we also saw light. We saw that vaccines and the rollout of those vaccines was coming, never as quickly as we'd like, but we saw that it was coming. And we made a conscious decision as a task force to begin to shift our mindset away from helping businesses to survive and navigate that up, down, open, close, shutdown cycle, to taking a strategic and data-driven approach to what does the future of Riverside County's economy look like as we come out of the coronavirus. Where are the immediate needs where we need to prioritize resources to various segments of the business community, but how can we look differently at the landscape and the economic development horizons in Riverside County, and think long-term to use this opportunity as an occasion for strategic investment and strategic repositioning of the county and its resources in the long term. And so we started the year on that path in a very intentional fashion, driven by data. So we started the year with a deep dive in the economic data. The economists who do all of the work for the Inland Empire Economic Partnership, as well as the Coachella Valley Economic Partnership. It's a group of economists from universities throughout the region, gave us a detailed report. And to many of you, it won't be a surprise what it showed. It showed dramatic job losses, particularly in travel, tourism, hospitality, and the food service industries. And it also showed particular strain in the workforce in the building trades, where we have a tremendous need for skilled talent, skilled labor, and that labor's not there. When you peel back that data, part of that is driven by the difficult challenge we face related to school reopenings. I'm heartened to see that those school reopenings have started and encourage that continued acceleration. The reality of it is, going into this crisis, right, Riverside County was at nearly de facto full employment. And in a county where the predominant number of the population are dual earner households, right, we've placed families in a very difficult position, right? Do I go to work or do I supervise my children's education? And so we have recognized since last year and are continuing to prioritize at the task force, working with our local school districts and the county schools to do everything we can to get schools open and childcare stabilized, because we're not going to be able to fully reopen the economy until that happens. And so we continue to be engaged in those discussions. And again, I certainly applaud our local school districts for beginning the process to get those schools back open. So what does the road hold ahead? This issue of travel, tourism, hospitality, and food service becomes critical. If I haven't done it yet, which I don't think I have, I'm going to put a plug in. I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing it from Bobby and the team at Corona Chamber. If you haven't gone and got tested recently, go get tested. Make it a habit. Even if you've had the virus already, even if you've been vaccinated, go get tested. The state's metrics related to openings are still driven by testing. It's going to remain to be driven by testing for some period of time. And if we want to get to the red tier and get our restaurants open where there is real pain, we have got to get to the red tier. We've got to continue to move through the tiers. So continue to get tested. Tell a friend to get tested. Take a friend to get tested. We have tons of capacity and would encourage you to do that. It's a simple step that every single one of us can do to get Riverside's economy back open. Secondarily, coming out of the report that we received on the economic data, we have formed a subgroup of the task force led by Patrick Ellis, who many of you might know, a good colleague of Bobby's, who also chairs the county's Workforce Investment Board. And that subgroup is working on a series of strategies to present to the task force, probably late in March and early in April, that we will eventually take to the Board of Supervisors to, again, target both resources. When I say resources, not necessarily just dollars, but manpower, other county resources, things like workforce and labor training, education resources, et cetera, to those segments of the economy where the most difficulty to get reopening exists. So we are in that process now. I think there's going to be some real opportunity in that process to not only think about the short-term needs of the county of Riverside as it relates to recovering from COVID, but also making some strategic long-term investments in areas where I think Riverside County continues to have competitive advantages. Areas like manufacturing, which is a strength of the Corona area. Areas like green and clean tech, where you're starting to see some nascent development around the relocation of CARB to Riverside County. And there's a ton of work being done coming out of the Inland Economic Growth and Opportunity Campaign that I was involved in around a center of excellence in logistics and really building capacity and jobs in that sector. And so we're still early in that process. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for input for those of you who have particular interests in segments of the economy or suggestions on areas where there are pains that need relief. I would encourage you to share that with Bobby and the team at the Chamber. We're interested in that kind of feedback. Again, our goal will be to bring a series of strategies and potential tactics to the task force late in March, early in April, and then at some point later in the spring, forward that to the Board of Supervisors. We're also slowly working our way through that process because, as you know, there is additional federal funding that is pending. It has not made its way through the legislative process, but that is close, and most observers believe probably by the end of this week, early next, that will be resolved. There's going to be critical funding that is going to come to both to local governments at all levels, both our cities and our counties. And we want to think through how we can work together and collaboratively to leverage those dollars, right? I think at times we can have the habit of not thinking regionally. And Corona does one thing, Riverside does one thing, Eastvale does one thing, but yet so many of the issues we face are common and unified. And how can we leverage this platform to engage local cities in the effort to have a unified platform for economic recovery, but also building a new economy and building for the future of Riverside County. So we're very excited about that road ahead. I want to make sure that I leave plenty of time for questions and comments. I will close with the following. I am continue to be bullish on Riverside County. As Bobby knows, I live here. I have young children, and I've chosen to raise them here. I think this is going to be the future of California, and I think the reality, I know it often gets used in jest as it relates to the political environment, but I am a believer of don't waste a crisis. And COVID has provided us an opportunity to rethink a lot of the ways that we do things, particularly as it relates to business growth, job growth, and economic vitality in Riverside County. And I know our task force looks forward to being on the cutting edge of rethinking that future for Riverside County so that we can not only recover and restore what was lost via COVID, but think about what we in our economy and your businesses look like 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So with that, it's always nice to be with my friends in Corona, and would welcome any questions or feedback, and just appreciate the opportunity to be with y'all.
Thank you so much for bringing this information to our group, Lou. Stephanie, do we have any questions?
We have lots of questions. So thank you very much, Lou. The first one is, does the task force have plans for real reopening of the county?
So I'm not sure the lens in the frame of reference of the lens in which that question's asked. So I'm gonna take a stab at it. So, right, the reopening framework as it relates to what can open and when is driven by state law. The county can't control that. And for those of you who have probably watched counties that have tried to enforce their will in a different fashion, they have been uniformly lost those efforts in court. So I think where we are focused is in the things that we can control. And what we can control is educating folks about testing. What we can control is identifying, as we come through the different tiers, what segments are going to open and where the challenges are in those segments that we can resource and support to help them accelerate successfully their reopening. We're focused on those areas. Again, moving from the red tier, or from the purple tier to the red tier to the orange tier, gets driven by state metrics. And again, I think the best thing I can encourage you to do is, if you want to move through those quickly, go get a test and take a friend with you.
Thank you. Next question. Do you feel that the governor is holding Riverside County hostage because of our sheriff's stand on enforcing masks or businesses being open when the governor insisted on closing so many of them?
No, I don't. Candidly, I think the challenge is, right, in a state like the size of California, the challenge has really been, it's just been a one-size-fits-all approach. And that was, in my estimation, again, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. I think that's the challenge that we're all operating under, right? The world in Riverside County works differently than the world in Tehama County, than the world in Contra Costa County. And so that one-size-fits-all approach has really been the challenge. Now, I will say, and I think we should give credit where credit is due, the state has paid a great deal of attention to this issue of equity. And I will tell you that they have resourced that accordingly. Late last year, we got a disproportionately higher share of money to open up vaccination clinics and testing apparatus. And as you probably have read in recent days, they have reprioritized the entire way vaccines are distributed in the state, with 40% of those going to the most underserved communities. Riverside County is going to get a huge benefit from that. It is going to help us accelerate through the tiers and open more quickly, because we are going to be able to vaccinate more folks quickly. However, again, back to the importance of testing. Currently, vaccination rates are not accounted in the tier system. I think they will be. That those discussions are underway. We understand from the public health folks, but we have a huge opportunity now as we get a big increase in vaccinations and availability of vaccine to get our friends and neighbors vaccinated and increase our testing numbers to accelerate through the opening phases.
Thank you. Does the Recovery Task Force work with the schools? Riverside Unified opened on Monday. Is it true that they're only open 1 day per week for children to attend school?
So we don't have oversight. Obviously, each school district has its own, elected board. We have worked, we have a member of our task force, Kim Joseph Cousins, who's a member of the county Board of Education. We have tried to coordinate with them where we can, particularly in the area of childcare where they have a lot of oversight. We continue to encourage, and it is the public position of this task force, that the sooner safe school reopenings can happen, the better it is for the economy. But that is left to the decision of local decision makers and local school districts. I do understand, I don't have any particular insight other than I do understand what the questioner asked, is that Riverside Unified is open K-6 1 day a week. I've read that in published reports. I don't have any particular insight outside of what's in the public domain.
Thank you. Next question. When do you see us moving back to 100%, given the governor's comments last night in the State of the State speech?
I think there's a number of factors there that I think are still unknown. I am, as I shared yesterday, you all are getting me hot off the press. I gave an update on behalf of Bobby and my colleagues to the Board of Supervisors yesterday. I candidly am now less worried about the issue of amount of vaccine and more concerned about the ability to deliver shots to arms and the infrastructure that takes. I think for us to really make an impact in vaccine distribution, getting more of those into, kind of our normal medical provider channels, right? All of us probably go to a medical group or have a doctor that we see on a regular basis, and those are really the frontline folks we need to get vaccines to. So, I think as that continues to roll out, we'll have some better predictors on opening. So that's part one. Part two is candidly a broader issue that our task force has been engaged in, and that's the issue of there are several industries, most particular travel, tourism, and hospitality, which are currently candidly not even mentioned in the state framework. I mean, they're not mentioned at all. It is silent. And hotels, convention centers, et cetera, are a huge driver to our economy. They're a huge driver to local government funding because of transit occupancy tax. And the fact that the current state framework is silent to those, I think is a huge hurdle to what I would call a full reopening. The data has shown that in the last 18 months, the Coachella Valley has lost an estimated economic impact of $18 billion because of the loss of, you name it, Coachella, Stagecoach, all of the seasonal, travel, tourism, hospitality. I know from talking to Bobby that the hotels in the Corona Norco area have suffered equally because of the downside in business travel. Those types of areas need to get shored up quickly. There is a broad statewide coalition that is focused on that effort and is advocating with the governor's office and working with them. But until we get guidance in some of those key sectors, it's hard to predict, when we will have a quote full opening. And I guess I would also say that I think folks have different interpretations of what that means. For me, I want my kids to be able to participate in a swim meet. I want them to be able to go to a full day school. I want them to be able to go to a birthday party without a mask. So some of that is in the eye of the beholder. But in my sense of where we are, we've got to get clear guidance from the state across the full economic spectrum of what's permitted and when in order to fully engage a full and robust reopening.
Thank you. Next question. How many have been tested at the county, and what do we need to get to qualify for the next level of reopening?
So overall testing since the beginning of the pandemic, I wouldn't know how to measure that. I can tell you those numbers are all on the Riverside County Department of Public Health website. So there's a whole section on testing. You can go there with all those statistics. Bobby, weigh in here if you think I stray, but it's geared on the statewide median. And as of yesterday, I think we're at 294, 297 per 100,000. And I think we need to be at like 304. So we are literally just off the margin of where we need to be to get to the red tier. I think public health believes probably next week we move into the red tier. 16 counties got announced today they're moving to the red tier. We just missed it. So we're literally on the margin of error, which is why, again, this issue of testing is so important. Bobby, do I have those numbers pretty close?
I believe you're spot on, and it is on the county website. So.
Those are all the questions. Thank you so much.
You bet. Pleasure to be with you all.
Thank you, Lou.
All right, thank you again, Lou. Donnie, what else do we have going on?
Donnie, you're muted. Donnie, you're muted.
I have a great announcement here. I'm excited to tell you that we will be back in person for Good Morning Corona this month. On Friday, March 19th, we'll be back at IHOP. There also will be a virtual option available, but we'll be there in the patio parking lot again of IHOP as we had been previously. Early pricing is available right now through Friday, this coming Friday. This is a great chance to make new connections, get back in circulation, see some old friends and business associates. We have a great lineup of speakers. Always interesting. We'll feature a law and order update from Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestron and our interim Corona Police Chief Robert Newman. So please get online today. Book your reservation for Friday, March 19th at IHOP. Kim.
Thank you, Don. April is Riverside County Innovation Month. We invite you or an innovative new business you know to sign up for our regional fast pitch competition on April 8th. The tech-focused winner will go on to compete at the county finale on April 28th. There will be prizes awarded at both levels. Go to the bit.ly link on the screen to learn more. Don?
Next, I want to share about one of our most popular events, our Chamber of Commerce Annual Golf Classic. It's going to be on Thursday, May the 27th at the beautiful Eagle Glen Golf Club. This premier tournament provides an elevated golfing experience. This year's tournament is held in partnership with AFE Power. We will also honor active duty military by inviting them to join the tournament. To do this, we are selling opportunity tickets. Prizes include a shotgun, a 50-inch TV, and $200 in local gift cards. Every 40 opportunity tickets that we sell allows one military personnel to golf. Contact us today for more information and to secure your foursome while they're still available. Discounted pricing on tee sponsorship is also available now through March the 20th, but we're already almost sold out. So to participate, please act soon. Kim.
These business briefings are held to educate and empower our members. And if you happen to be on the call but are still not a member of the Chamber, or if you know of a neighboring business that would find membership beneficial, please connect with Robert Yanez to become part of our Chamber family. Meetings like these are just one of the many benefits of being a part of an active, thriving organization like the Chamber. We serve a regional landscape, but we are not bound by geographical limits. We have incentives for both joining and referring, and special March Madness program coming next week that you will want to be a part of. Our Chamber is growing, and together we make a big impact. Donnie?
Thanks, Kim. Reminder, available now is our new mobile app for Android and Apple devices. You can post promotions for your business, see job openings, find out what is happening, and more. Stay up to date with the Corona Chamber of Commerce. Download it now and start accessing these new features. Back to you, Kim.
Well, at this time, I'd like to introduce our legislative advocate, Jeff Gibson. Jeff keeps a pulse on what's happening in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., allowing us to act timely on projects and initiatives that help make a difference in shaping our community. His knowledge of complex political issues and the great relationships he's built ensure the Corona Chamber has all the tools to be effective on behalf of the business community. Please help me welcome Jeff Gibson to share a legislative update about the governor's State of State address and proposed climate change rule. Jeff?
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. So good morning, everybody, and very nice to hear from our friends throughout the county. Last night, the governor strayed for the first time in modern history from not giving the State of the State to the joint session of the legislature, but gave it at Dodger Stadium, and which is always an interesting location to give a political speech. But he gave it there because it's a very large vaccination center, and so he wanted to drive that message home. The headline, the biggest spending coming out, or the biggest commitment of spending coming out of the speech that you may see reported, you may not, is that the governor announced that he can provide no more pressure for schools to open. A little under half of schools are currently open. He reported 7,000. That counts schools that are open for 1 day a week or for in-person counseling sessions, for instance. But that he was going to be providing $6.6 billion in additional funding for counseling and mental health services to school districts as the reopening slowly begins. California is still the 50th of 50 states in reopening speed. We have 24 of 58 counties that are out of the most restrictive tier, according to the governor's own accounting last night. And one of the other headline things that you may or may not see reported is that after 4 million vaccinations have been reached, so there's 37 million residents, after 4 million vaccinations are reached, we're at about 2 million now, vaccinations are going to be removed from county criteria for opening. So the state will no longer track how many people are being vaccinated. I know we've spent a huge amount of time waiting for the vaccines, talking about how important the vaccines are, going through this. This is, again, not a debate on whether or not vaccines work or not. This is, my job is to help keep you informed on how government actually follows through with the policy they tell us to follow. And we're going to get to 4 million vaccines, which is about 11% of the state. We were told for a year that we could not reopen until everyone was vaccinated. We're going to get to about 4 million vaccinations, and then we're going to stop tracking vaccinations altogether so that the state can continue to keep a political process going on which counties open and or stay closed. So that is directly from the governor's speech. As was discussed earlier, a minority community, there are 45 minority communities, 4 of which are in the Inland Empire, that will be receiving additional vaccines. Those vaccinations will not be available to the general public, but will be coordinated through nonprofit organizations specifically for those communities of concern. So the headline is more vaccine is coming to Riverside County. But for most people, it is not going to become available. So the process that you're in now, if you are interested in receiving a vaccine, is the process that's largely going to that you're largely going to be a part of for the rest of the pandemic, or whenever the emergency it has reached its conclusion. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Jeff, for keeping us updated on what's happening. Stephanie, do you have any questions?
Hold on, Kim. No, I still have to get into the second. I just wanted to pause because we were going to be moving on from the state of the state.
Yes, there's one question in the queue right now.
Yes.
Do you have any insight or recommendations that you can give us as the state and federal government seems to be making things more difficult for doing business. What should we do in addition to plugging into this weekly call?
So on each of our the points of what we are talking about, we encourage you to become engaged by adding your name to the letters and to the communication that we have going forward to our legislators. Specifically on the next item, as just an example of what you can do. I know that of the hundreds of thousands of employers that are in our area, it is very important that your voice be heard on these issues, and especially on the reopening, especially on the idea that we're going to reopen better, where we're going to be focusing on giving additional advantage to businesses and industries that were almost exclusively surviving based upon subsidies and tax credits. And so, and we're just widening those subsidies and tax credits. But we are working very, very hard. We always have an opportunity for people to engage either by writing a letter themselves, and we give that information, or by joining our letter specifically. So, because that's absolutely needed. When we go to Sacramento, when we go to Washington, D.C., when we have elected officials on, they do say they do listen. And I've been doing this for over 30 years. They do listen. And so it is very important. With that, we get to go to the South Coast Air Quality Management District. One of the things that I really try and do for you, and we really are focused here at the Chamber, is to take things that often are an acronym and really break down any sort of acronyms or insider speak so that you can make a quick decision on, oh, okay, I get what you're talking about, because people can't really follow the alphabet soup of this agency's acronym or that policy's acronym. So the South Coast Air Quality Management District runs the government bureaucracy that focuses on the air quality in California. Up until the Obama administration, that was specific to air pollutants that are an immediate danger to human and ecological life. After the Obama administration, that also included carbon emissions and climate change emissions, which obviously, if you're on this call, you are adding to the carbon dioxide count in your immediate area because we exhale carbon dioxide. The South Coast Air Quality Management District and CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board, which moved its research facility to UCR recently. And we've talked about that, about bringing in 400 jobs, which are nice. The state legislature, as its auditor last year, found that CARB by the California Air Resources Board and then our local board, which is the South Coast Air Quality Management District, were overstating the savings on carbon emissions for vehicles by 40%. And so what we had been led to believe was an effective way to eliminate carbon from the air by buying a Tesla or driving a Chevy Volt or riding an electric bus was actually only one half, essentially, as effective as was advertised. And so South Coast Air Quality Management District is now going to be responding to that by looking to penalize businesses that are in any way connected to the distribution business. So if you are distributing goods out of your business, and that is your business, if you run any sort of facility that a air quality management district regulator could construe as having a warehouse or a distribution center type business in it, and if you look at any sort of business of any size involved in actual things, the rule initially was written in such a way that if you received several Amazon deliveries during the week, you could be considered a distribution center. We have already effectively worked to have the rule narrowed, but the idea is that you will be penalized if the person delivering something to you or the person engaged in business with you is not driving an electric truck. and which is impossible to know until they show up. So, and the regulation works on a complaint system, which oftentimes is abused by people within the system, calling in complaints on their competitors. And so there's a number of problems involved here. We are trying to short circuit all that by working with area businesses, other area chambers. We have about 20,000 employers in our network already. We need you to be in our network. We need to oppose this rule. The Southern California Air Quality Management District is pushing very hard to enact a number of different things, including making it impossible after 2035 to drive a gasoline powered vehicle or natural gas powered vehicle in the Southern California area, the 5-county area of Southern California. So this is one way that you can be very, very effective and join us in that fight. And so we've discussed it already within the staff. We recommend an opposition. And Bobby, do you want me to run the ask for a motion?
I got
in a
it, Jeff.
second? Great.
Kim will take care of this. Okay, go ahead,
Perfect.
Kim.
So we need to ask for we need a motion to support Jeff's recommendation, which is to oppose the local air board to force businesses to pay additional fines. So do I have a motion?
I'll motion. Oh,
that's okay, Elizabeth. I'll second.
Okay.
I was
Thank
going to
you,
do the
Elizabeth
same.
and Mike.
So I believe that we have Elizabeth and Mike, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kim.
All right. Is there any questions or discussion?
Nope.
All right. So if everyone could, all those in favor say yes.
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 Aye.
Does
Yeah.
anyone object?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay,
Yep.
so moved. We will oppose the South Coast Rule, local air board to force businesses to pay additional fines. All right.
Very good.
Thank you, Jeff.
And,
Thank you.
and just one final update on the federal bill. It was passed. It's passed out of the conference, the $1.9 trillion bill, which is being billed as COVID relief, what we talked about last week. 85% of it has nothing to do with COVID or infectious disease. It has been passed out of the House, the initial version. It has been passed out of the Senate. It has gone through the conference committee, and it is now going back to the House for action later this week, and then transmission over to the White House for signature. So it will be likely by this time next week or shortly thereafter, it'll be law, which means relief checks or any of the other relief items that are in the bill, you will start seeing before July 4th. So obviously, hopefully we will be open by then, but we will keep track of that. And thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have any final questions for Jeff, Stephanie?
Yes, there's one question right now. It says, costs for regular items are on the increase. Our business has seen resin increasing week after week beginning last month. Where do you feel we can best be involved?
Best be involved by joining us, adding your name here. It's super easy if you want to, and I don't want to give Stephanie any more work, but if you added right here in the comment section the name of your business, and for instance wanted to be on the letter that we're going to be, the communication that we're sending to the South Coast Air Quality Management District on this job killing bill, that would be a very easy way for you to participate, and probably the most effective and direct way. We are tracking inflation issues. It is popping up for the first time in a very long time, and so we will have an update on that in the future.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thanks everybody. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Jeff. Just a reminder, not only to put your name on these things, but the more members that we have behind us, the louder our voice gets when it comes to opposing these things. So make sure that you're become a member or invite someone else to become a member so we have a louder voice. Don?
Once again, we'd like to thank today's sponsor of this phone call, Kaiser Permanente. Healthcare doesn't have to be complicated. Get convenient, high-quality care designed to keep you healthy. Learn more at kaiserpermanente.org. Kim.
Thank you, Donnie. If you would like to sponsor a future business briefing, please contact the Chamber. Register now to join us next Wednesday for more advocacy news. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Our meeting is adjourned.